All right, today, look at that. This was just dropped off yesterday for me to have a look at it and see if I can get this thing running right. He brought it all the way from Louisiana. There's a friend in Tennessee, and he's kind of dropped by and dropped this off for me to see if I can get it running. But look how much it rained. He just dropped it off yesterday. We had some serious rain last night. Supposed to be for the most of the week, but anyway, so what we've got is a 2001. Let's see if I can get the whole thing in there. 2001 Kawasaki 1100 ZXi, and he said what it's doing is it'll run for just a few seconds and then it shuts off. That's all you can get out of it. Like, it's not drawing fuel out of the tank. So this 2001, I can say, because I had a 96, it was red, it's exactly the same. They did not change a thing on it from 96 to 2001. This one is in extremely good condition for its age because he's kept it in a garage. That makes a huge difference if you can keep them out of the weather. This is how your jet ski will look, and it'll help with your resale value and all that. But you see these ZXIs, they have this little cut in the back like this, and they also have, it's not a digital dash, they have all the gauges, regular mechanical gauges. So let me get this water dumped out of this. Let's pull the seat, try to give it a start, see what it's doing. One of the things I do know off the bat, he's changed this out, but you can't even turn this with your hand. So something's going on with those cables, that cable system. Well, let's get started. So one of the first things I'm going to do is a compression check, which I've done on several videos. I always want to know what kind of shape the engine is in that I'm working on. Obviously, the best time to do a compression check is when the engine is warm and you have the throttle wide open. Throttle wide open, warm engine. That's a little low. I'm only reading 90 in that number one cylinder. Well, let's check the others. Middle cylinder, 120. That's what we want to see. Middle cylinder's good. You're going to have a problem with your front cylinder. And I was looking at the plug. I'm going to get my hand on it so I can focus. It's got that slight metallic look on the plug. So there could be some scoring in that number one cylinder. Number two looks fairly normal. If not just a little rich, but that is what happens when you start running premix. I don't like the looks of number one, so let's get on to 3 and see what we see. I think we're going to see another 120. Third hole, let's take a look at it. Oh yeah, it's great. Up just above 120. And its plug is kind of sooty, running rich. But that number one, I thought when I pulled it, it had a slight metallic look. Not as bad as what I've seen on some, but it's there. You see this silvery stuff starting to coat over the soot, and you know you're scraping metals in there and making metal. This thing needs a top end job done on it at the very least, if the cylinder doesn't have to be bored, and then 2 other pistons. You know, if you bore one, you got to bore all 3. That's the thing about these. So I guess the only way to get out of that would be to sleeve one, sleeve it, bore it, sleeve it to back to standard. Then you could not have to bore all 3. But that's what we're looking at now: 90, 120, 120. So this is definitely a top end build, and they usually need that somewhere around 100 hours, it seems like. So that's just what I'm seeing with these. So this needs a top end build. Sorry to say, but yeah, it should crank and run. So that's another issue entirely, and I will deal with that in a second. Now, what I've found when these are sucking air, when they're sucking air, if you look at your fuel filter here while it's running, you're going to see bubbles coming into your fuel filter, and you know it's sucking air. So that's how I found mine. I ran it with the seat off in the lake, and bubbles were coming into the fuel filter, and I knew there was a problem, and that's how I found a leak in my fuel system. Okay, a couple other things. He told me that the trim isn't working, so the trim motor is in that box. It's a weird smoothed over triangle looking box. I think it's basically a window lift motor that's in there. The problem these had, if you got water in it, water would get in that box and rust that motor up. And I've also heard people have problems with the wiring just absolutely corroding to the motor inside that box. So you've got a switch on this one to control the trim, and then it seems like, yeah, there was an automatic. If you wanted it to do automatic for you, you push the blue button. So the trim motor could be bad, the wiring could be bad here, or the wiring could be bad there, or anywhere in between, causing that trim not to work. And that trim, what that does is it moves this nozzle like this, and you can see it's not coming straight out, it's a little down. It's a little down as it sets right now. So he's got a good battery. I did check, and I didn't think it would show up on video, but all three do have spark. In the daylight, it's hard to see. You almost need to put a cover, towel or blanket or something over while you're looking for it, but the spark is there on all three cylinders. So I know I've got fire. And then there's the fuel issue. So what I'm going to do next is pull the return line here, and then the inlet line here. I will plug that inlet with a screwdriver or a bolt or anything that you can plug that off with, and then put air pressure in through the return line, no more than 3 psi. You will have sprayed your entire fuel system. I'll spray that all the way from the filter, every connection, every piece on the fuel system, including around the cap out here, which I'm not a fan of this aftermarket cap he bought. It's just really seems thin, and but I guess it works. It doesn't have the little piece that's supposed to swivel. In other words, the chain will wrap funny. It can. Yeah, so I'll have to do filming down in here, looking for bubbles and all that sort of thing. So that's what I'm doing next. I use Dawn and water, spray bottle, spray everything down, pump it up, look for bubbles, because I suspect we've got a problem with the fuel delivery system on this one as well. It could be the check valve on that. But I got to find it. You got to find what's wrong. All right, let's just show you what we got going on. I've got my tank. It's pressurized. I've turned the knob way down so that I have really low pressure coming out. You definitely want to do this with low air pressure. You don't want to blow anything up. I've already sprayed everything down on the fuel system. I've sprayed the filter, the connections. I've closed off the inlet. I'm going to pressurize the reserve side, which the line has dropped down a little, but this is where I'm going to put pressure into my system. I've gone in here sprayed everything down. That little dealie there that has the cables that run to it. I've sprayed all around my fuel cap. I've sprayed all around. This is going to be the hose clamps, both hose clamps, where it clamps to the tank, where it clamps to the neck, and that center there where the fuel sending unit goes in. I've sprayed everything with soapy water. Let's put air to it, see if we get bubbles. All right, the compressor's kicked back on. I'm gonna turn this, put it in here, and I want you to see what I see. There's bubbles coming out under that unit there. I better hit it again with some more spray. I could see them coming out. See the big air bubbles? See the big bubbles? That baby's leaking. There's an O-ring or a flat gasket that's supposed to be under there. And she's blowing bubbles on this. I'm using a little handheld stand, but you can see the big bubble coming off. It's just blowing bubbles, baby. I can smell fumes coming out. So that's where it's leaking. You've got nothing here, so even though I didn't say I like that cap, it's holding. And then the fuel center unit, which isn't working, he said the floats are all floating. No leaks there. But look here, nothing there. And there. So we found the leak. Told him there was going to be a leak. If it's not drawing fuel, it's not building pressure like it's supposed to. On a Kawasaki, that's probably the most common place you're going to find it, is right there. It's kind of hard to get this angle right. But there it is, big bubble blowing out from under that where it's leaking. That's no good. You gotta fix that. You'll lean out and kill a cylinder just like this did. So now we've got more expensive problems to fix because it was sucking air, not pressurizing properly. That's how you do a fuel pressure test on a Kawasaki. Any of the triples, the 900s, the 1100s, the 750s, really any jet ski. This is how you do it. Got soapy water, got an air compressor, turn that thing way down, use about 3 psi pressure, pump in through your return line, because that way you're not blowing all the air through your carburetor to mess anything up in there. Yeah, always go through the return line, and we can see there is a problem. So simple test. A lot of people don't do it, and you end up with severe engine damage as a result of those things leaking. So you got to fix it. The thing's got to be sealed. So now it's a matter of pulling that, the two things that were the reserve pickup and the regular pickup, go down into the tank. There's a O-ring that sits under that. Either that's bad or it isn't sealed right. Something is wrong. All right, so I'm wanting to test and see if my trim switch is bad or if it's a motor. So my first step was to remove 3 stainless steel Phillips screws to get this apart off the handlebar there. And see, I wanted to test the switch from the back without poking the probes of a meter into that. I'm not going to be able to test it. So I'll try to test it from the other side where it plugs maybe. So that would be down under here. There's two different plugs. Let's see, there's this green one. If I can angle this phone, there it is. And then there's another one. I already got it popped off. The green one didn't want to come off so easy. So you got this plug going down to that trim box. I was trying to find the same color wires that were on the switch. Doesn't look like they maintain that there. And then here, let's see. There's the green and yellow. There should be a blue and... Okay, so here they are right here. This is where your switch wiring goes. So I'll put probes in here and actuate the switch and see what I get for continuity.